The death by exploding phone. A girl went to sleep in her bedroom in Bastob, Kazakhstan on September 27, 2019. Like many teenagers around the world, she had developed the habit of falling asleep while listening to music on her smartphone. That night, she plugged her device into a wall outlet to charge and placed it on her pillow, just inches from her head. The smartphone, a Chinese-made model, had been modified with an aftermarket battery. These replacement batteries often lack the safety features of manufacturer-approved components. As she slept, the lithium-ion battery inside her phone began to overheat. At some point during the night, it reached its critical temperature threshold. In the early morning hours, while the entire household was asleep, the battery catastrophically failed. The chemical reaction inside the battery became unstable, creating a rapid expansion of gases. The pressure built within seconds until the battery could no longer contain it. The phone exploded with tremendous force directly beside her head. The blast was powerful enough to cause severe trauma to her skull. Fragments of the phone's casing became projectiles, embedding into her skin and deeper tissues. The thermal energy released in the explosion caused localized burns to her face and neck. Family members in adjacent rooms heard nothing. The explosion was intense but brief, the sound absorbed by bedding materials. When her parents entered her room the next morning, they found a scene that appeared peaceful at first glance. She seemed to be still sleeping. It was only when they attempted to wake her that they discovered the devastating truth. The injuries to her head had been immediately fatal. Melted phone components were fused to her pillow, surrounded by scorch marks. Forensic investigators later determined that she had died instantly from the combined effects of blunt force trauma and penetrating injuries to her brain. She never woke to realize what was happening. The man swallowed by the earth. A 37-year-old man was going to bed on February 28, 2013, in his family home in Seffner, Florida. It was an ordinary night in a quiet suburban neighborhood. As he lay sleeping in his bedroom, there was no indication of the danger lurking directly beneath him. At approximately 11 p.m., his brother heard what sounded like a violent crash, followed by his screams. The brother rushed to his room, only to find that the bedroom had disappeared. In its place was a gaping 20-foot-wide crater. The entire room, with him still in his bed, had been swallowed by the earth. I heard a loud crash, like a car hitting the side of the house, the brother later told reporters. I heard my brother screaming for help. The brother jumped into the hole, frantically digging through the collapsed debris with his hands. But the ground continued to shift and collapse around him. First responders arrived within minutes. They pulled the brother from the sinkhole, but couldn't reach the man. Rescue workers lowered specialized equipment into the hole, including microphones and cameras, hoping to locate him. There was no response. Geologists at the scene delivered devastating news. The sinkhole was still actively expanding beneath the surface. The limestone beneath Florida is riddled with underground caverns that can collapse when groundwater dissolves the rock. In his case, the collapse happened with extraordinary speed and fatal precision. He wasn't crushed slowly or given any chance to escape. The earth simply opened and pulled him downward into its depths. After 36 hours, authorities made the difficult decision to call off the rescue operation. The house was too unstable, putting rescuers at risk of being swallowed themselves. His body remained entombed 50 to 60 feet below ground. Engineers later demolished the home, filling the sinkhole with gravel and concrete, while his remains stayed buried in the earth that had claimed him. The man killed by a falling cow. A 45-year-old man went to bed with his wife in their home in Caratinga, Brazil, on July 10, 2013. Their modest house sat on a hillside in a semi-rural area where livestock often grazed on the steep terrain behind residential properties. It was a warm night, and the couple had settled in for what they expected to be a peaceful sleep. At approximately 1:30 a.m., a 1-ton cow escaped from a nearby farm. The animal wandered onto the hill directly behind their residence. In the darkness, the cow stepped onto the sloped roof of their single-story home. The structure wasn't designed to support such weight. The roof was made of thin, corrugated asbestos sheets, a common and inexpensive building material in the region. The panels immediately buckled under the cow's weight. With a sudden crack, the roof gave way completely. The animal, still disoriented, plunged through the opening and fell approximately 8 feet straight down. It landed directly on the bed where the couple were sleeping. The bulk of the cow's weight struck the husband's side of the mattress. His wife, merely inches away, was entirely unharmed. The impact crushed his chest and legs, pinning him to the bed frame beneath the panicked animal. Neighbors later reported hearing both the crash and the distressed sounds of the cow as it struggled to regain its footing in the confined bedroom space. His wife managed to escape the bedroom and called for help. First responders arrived and removed the cow, which had suffered only minor injuries in the fall. He was alive but badly injured. He was conscious, in excruciating pain, and struggling to breathe as internal bleeding rapidly filled his chest cavity. Paramedics transported him to regional hospital in Caratinga. Doctors identified severe crushing injuries to his ribcage and multiple fractures. Despite medical intervention, he succumbed to internal hemorrhaging after nearly 8 hours in the hospital. The cow survived. The victim of a collapsing bed, 39-year-old mother of 3 began organizing her bedroom at her home in Seaham, County Durham, on June 7, 2024. As a mother of 3, she was accustomed to maximizing storage space in their modest semi-detached house. Her Ottoman-style bed featured a large storage compartment beneath the mattress, accessible by lifting the entire bed frame on hydraulic gas pistons. It was early afternoon when she decided to retrieve seasonal clothing from the storage space. She lifted the heavy wooden frame, which rose smoothly on its gas lift mechanism. The pistons were designed to hold the weight of the frame and mattress indefinitely, while items were retrieved or stored. She leaned forward, reaching deep into the storage area with her upper body partially inside the compartment. Without warning, one of the hydraulic pistons failed catastrophically. The metal connecting rod separated from its mounting bracket with a sharp crack. The full weight of the queen-size mattress and solid wood frame, approximately 130 pounds, came crashing down in an instant. The edge of the wooden frame struck her directly across the back of her neck. The impact wasn't immediately fatal. She found herself pinned face down inside the storage space, the heavy frame pressing against her cervical spine. The pressure compressed her airway and restricted blood flow to her brain. She couldn't call for help or reach her phone. Her arms were trapped inside the storage area, making it impossible to push against the weight crushing her. Medical experts later explained that she experienced positional asphyxia, a form of suffocation that occurs when the body is positioned in a way that prevents proper breathing. Consciousness fades within 60 to 90 seconds as oxygen levels plummet. She would have felt increasing panic, followed by lightheadedness before losing consciousness entirely. Her 13-year-old daughter discovered her body 3 hours later after returning from school. Emergency services confirmed that she had died from compression asphyxia. The manufacturers of the bed subsequently recalled thousands of similar models with the same hydraulic mechanism. The fatal intrusion of an airplane. A 21-year-old woman lay down for an afternoon nap in her family's mobile home in Lake Worth, Florida, on October 13, 2015. The single-story residence was located in the Marmot Colony Club, a mobile home community situated less than 2 miles from Palm Beach County Park Airport. Aircraft noise was a common part of daily life in the neighborhood. At approximately 5:45 p.m., she was asleep in her bedroom while her father was outside the home. The weather was clear with light winds, perfect flying conditions. Above the mobile home park, a single-engine Piper Cherokee aircraft was experiencing severe mechanical difficulties. The pilot, a student on a solo training flight, had reported engine trouble to air traffic control moments earlier. Witnesses on the ground described hearing a sputtering engine, followed by an eerie silence as the aircraft's propeller stopped turning. The Piper, now essentially a 1-ton glider, descended rapidly from an altitude of 1,000 feet. The pilot attempted to steer toward an open field, but lost control in the final moments of descent. The aircraft was traveling at approximately 90 miles per hour when it struck the roof of the family's home. The impact tore through the thin metal roof and wooden frame structure with devastating force. The aircraft's fuel tanks ruptured upon impact, spraying aviation fuel throughout the interior of the home. The hot engine components ignited the fuel almost instantly. Within seconds, the entire structure was engulfed in flames. Her father heard the crash and saw black smoke billowing from his home. He ran toward the structure, but the intensity of the fire prevented him from entering. The flames reached temperatures exceeding 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit, consuming the lightweight construction materials within minutes. Firefighters arrived within 7 minutes of the crash, but could do nothing to save her. The intense heat had caused fatal burns and smoke inhalation within the first moments after impact. Her body was recovered only after the fire had been fully extinguished. The pilot also perished in the crash. The man killed by a falling tree. A 20-year-old man went to sleep in his mobile home in Hall County, Georgia on October 1, 2024. The weather forecast had predicted severe thunderstorms overnight, with potential wind gusts reaching up to 60 miles per hour. His mobile home was situated in a wooded area, surrounded by mature oak and pine trees, some towering over 80 feet tall. At approximately 4:45 a.m., a powerful line of thunderstorms moved through the region. The National Weather Service recorded wind speeds exceeding 55 miles per hour. Rain fell in blinding sheets, saturating the ground around the roots of the trees. Lightning illuminated the night sky in frequent, brilliant flashes. Inside his bedroom, he slept through the storm, unaware of the danger looming above him. A 90-foot-tall red oak tree stood 20 yards from the mobile home. The tree was healthy in appearance, but its root system had been gradually compromised by recent heavy rainfall. As the storm's powerful winds pushed against its massive canopy, the waterlogged soil gave way. The tree began to tip slowly at first, then accelerated as gravity took over. The oak, weighing approximately 11,000 pounds, fell directly toward his mobile home. The trunk smashed through the thin metal roof with tremendous force, collapsing the ceiling supports and wall structure. The point of impact was directly above his bedroom, where he lay sleeping. The massive trunk crushed the mobile home's frame, driving splintered wooden beams and metal roofing material downward. The bedroom was compressed to less than 2 feet of space between floor and ceiling. Neighbors later reported hearing the distinctive crack of the tree breaking, followed by a thunderous crash as it struck the home. Medical examiners determined that he never woke. The impact caused immediate and catastrophic crushing injuries to his head and thorax. The compression force exceeded 8,000 pounds per square inch, instantly collapsing his skull and rib cage. Death was instantaneous, a small mercy in an otherwise unimaginable end. The car that became a battering ram. A 62-year-old woman went to bed in her single-story home in Sarasota, Florida on April 18, 2014. Her bedroom was located at the front of the house, approximately 17 feet from the street. It was a quiet residential neighborhood with a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit, and she had lived there peacefully for over 20 years. At approximately 1:12 a.m. on April 19th, a 24-year-old woman was involved in a heated argument with her ex-boyfriend at a nearby residence. According to witnesses, she left the confrontation in a state of extreme agitation, climbed into her Audi A3 sedan, and accelerated away from the scene at high speed. The Audi traveled less than a quarter mile before she lost control while attempting to navigate a slight curve in the road. The vehicle left the pavement traveling at approximately 70 miles per hour. It crossed the homeowner's front yard, became briefly airborne as it hit a small decorative embankment, and then crashed directly into the front bedroom of her home. The 2,000-pound vehicle tore through the exterior wall with devastating force. Stucco drywall and wooden framing splintered instantly. The car penetrated approximately 12 feet into the structure before finally coming to rest. The front bumper stopped just inches from where the woman lay sleeping. The initial impact crushed her bed against the far wall of the bedroom. The compression force was immediate and overwhelming. The steel frame of the vehicle struck her body directly, causing massive blunt force trauma to her torso and head. The wall behind her bed provided no escape route, effectively creating a crushing vice between it and the vehicle. First responders arrived within 6 minutes of the crash, but found her already deceased. The medical examiner later determined that she suffered multiple severe injuries, including a transected aorta, crushed ribs that punctured both lungs, and catastrophic head trauma. Death occurred within seconds of impact. The driver survived with minor injuries and was later sentenced to 12 years in prison for vehicular homicide. The lethal electric blanket. A 61-year-old woman went to bed in her 2-story home in Randallstown, Maryland on January 15, 2023. The winter night was particularly cold, with temperatures dropping to 17 degrees Fahrenheit. To stay warm, she placed an electric blanket on her bed and turned it to its highest setting before falling asleep. The blanket was a dual control model designed to heat different sides of a bed independently. It featured automatic shutoff mechanisms and overheat protection, but the unit she used was over 7 years old. The wiring inside had degraded over time, creating weak points in the insulation where the heating elements flexed repeatedly with each use and washing. At approximately 2:20 a.m. on January 16th, while she slept deeply, a critical failure occurred in the blanket's wiring. A short circuit developed where the insulation had worn away near the controller connection. The electrical current began arcing between exposed wires, generating intense heat that quickly reached 700 degrees Fahrenheit. The synthetic fabric of the blanket began to smolder, releasing dense, toxic smoke containing carbon monoxide, hydrogen cyanide, and other poisonous gases. These fumes spread throughout her bedroom while she remained asleep. The carbon monoxide bound to her hemoglobin, preventing oxygen from reaching her tissues. The hydrogen cyanide paralyzed her cellular respiration. She never woke up. The smoke detectors in her home had been disabled months earlier when she removed the batteries after they triggered during cooking. The smoldering blanket continued to burn slowly, eventually igniting the bedding, then the mattress, and finally spreading to nearby curtains and furniture. A neighbor noticed smoke coming from upstairs windows at 3:45 a.m. and called emergency services. Firefighters arrived within 7 minutes and forced entry into the home. They found the second floor filled with thick black smoke and the bedroom fully engulfed in flames. Her body was recovered from what remained of her bed. The medical examiner determined that she had died from smoke inhalation and carbon monoxide poisoning long before the flames reached her body. She had been unconscious within 30 seconds of the first fumes and dead within minutes. If you want to see more videos like this, click the video on screen now and make sure to subscribe.